With News 9 Plus and TVF. Partners, Bobble AI, One Digital Entertainment, PTC Play, Shimarumi, White Apple, Radio City, 24 Frames. An initiative by IWMBuzz Live. The subject for the moment is marketing trends to look out for in OTT. To begin the proceedings, may I please invite Parul Menghani-Entrepreneur on stage. Thank you so much. That's a lot of glam factor as well. She'll be joined by the likes of Digbijoy, Chakraborty, Head Marketing, Capital Foods Private Limited. Welcome, sir. Apoorva, Maheshwari, Head Marketing, Bestseller. Sonam, Pradhan-Head, Integrated Media and Agency Relations, Mahindra Rise, Automotive Division. Nikhil, Mathur, Head Marketing and Strategic Partnerships, TV9. The stage is all yours. Thank you so much. Let's keep the entertainment quotient going. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the audio is good. Thank you everyone for taking time out for this. And firstly, I'd like to thank Siddharth for putting up such a good event. I think the lineup for today is really, really good. And I'd really urge each one of you to kind of stick around till the end because there are many more good discussions coming. I'd like to thank our panelists for taking time out and coming today. Quick introduction. I'll just start with myself really quickly and then move to the panelists. I'm Parul Menghani. I've been a content, I'd say leader now for the past 20 years, and I've done like all sorts of different formats with platforms like MTV, Disney, UTV, Bindas, and the last couple of my stints have been with short format where I led content marketing for platforms like MX Takatak, ShareChat, Moj, and Trell. And I'm now moving into an entrepreneurial role. So setting up my own company, it's literally 2 weeks old. There'll be more to talk about that in the near future. Over to our panelists. I think a quick introduction will help, yeah.
Tough luck, always seem to get the post-lunch sessions. So yeah, I hope everyone is awake. So I lead marketing at Capital Foods. Capital Foods, lot many people might not know, but they know the brands. So I basically handle Ching's Secret and Smith & Jones. Yeah, that's about it, rest will speak. I think I'm not very good at speaking about myself. So
I disagree.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Apoorva Maheshwari. I head marketing at Bestseller India. We're a leading fashion retailer and we retail brands like Jack & Jones, Veromoda, Only, Selected. I'm a 14-year-old marketer in India. I've built brands at Procter & Gamble, at Zavame, at Lodha Group, and Accor.
Hello everyone. I hope you've had a wonderful lunch. I'm Sonam Pradhan, been in the media industry since the past 16 to 17 years. Recently launched multiple toys for the big boys and the big girls. We've got multiple launches at Mahindra that we have lined up, right from XUV 700 to the latest Thar Electric that has been launched at South Africa. So it's been quite a journey at Mahindra and looking forward to having much more launches and big news coming out from there.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. My name is Nikhil Mathur and I head the marketing for the world's first news OTT platform which is called News 9 Plus. So my only request to all of you over here would be please download it and sample the content for yourself because this is not something from the entertainment space. This OTT is from the news space. Your feedback is really critical to us. Thanks.
It's a first of a kind, right? Yeah. Amazing. You all are aware of the topic for today. It's marketing trends to look out for in OTT. OTT, of course, has been a hot topic right from the beginning, and it still is. So I think this conversation is going to be really fun. Let's just jump into it. I think I'd start with what is really doing the chatter of late, and the recent one is Made in Heaven on Prime Video. Whoever has watched it would have really realized the number of brand integrations that have happened in that particular show, right? It's a lot of brands. I remember one episode is completely dedicated to brand Sabyasachi. Not just the fact that they showcased the entire collection, they in fact featured Sabyasachi in the episode. But the beauty is that it was seamlessly done. His role and the part that he played, right, was very integral to that particular story. And there are other brands like Zomato. Imagine a Zomato and a Made in Heaven, right? More brands like, lots of jewelry brands that were there, to want to, kind of showcase jewelry on brides. What better platform and story to kind of integrate a brand in, right? So this brings me to my first question. For you all, how viable is OTT as a market today?
I'll take it. So as a market, you mean as an e-com platform or as a media? I'll tell you why I'm asking this question. Because for us, for any FMCG, I think, we think of it as a media. Why it is? Because OTT, end of the day, appeals to a certain segment of audience. Okay, now there are these fancy words we have to learn every year. Cord cutter is the new thing, right?
Of course, yeah.
So we have to keep on learning new stuff. So there is a huge segment with data coming in. Everyone seems to be getting out of television. Your convention in television, going into seeing OTTs. We as a brand who are mass don't want to miss out on the audience. Also, one of the critical factors is they're very young, right? Most of the audience, if you see, and if you tap them right now, they will have a longer shelf life with us. So we treat it as a media. Yes, engagement and integrations are very important, but there are certain OTT which allows advertising. We always look for advertising there as well. Because, so OTT, one advantage, unlike other mediums, is it gives you awareness. Plus, you can, like you said, you can seamlessly, explain about the product. Right? So I think, for example, Made in Heaven, a great example. Yeah, I think people who wouldn't have known about Sabyasachi will remember his name now. Right? That's the brilliance of the brand.
I'm sure the women here would know about Sabyasachi, right?
Yeah.
In terms of the viability, right? So we retail fashion brands. So it definitely allows us to reach out to the younger cohorts, and just the media consumption time, right? 70 minutes averaging a day is great media consumption time, and gives us gives us as an advertiser the confidence that yes, you can get a relevant reach to the TG should you be looking at this channel as your media vehicle or as an integral part of your media plan.
Nice.
Parul, I think I'll take a step back for answering that question. If I may address it with another question, that, as marketeers, what we should know today is what is the difference between marketing and advertising. So advertising is when we promote a brand directly to the face of the person. And sometimes, and most of the times is what I've noticed is that the audience is just like us. We get repulsed when an ad is shown directly to us without a choice that we have. But when it comes to OTT, it becomes a conscious decision for me to view the content. And when that content is seeded with a brand integration, it becomes so seamless, as you rightly said. Made in Heaven was a classic example. And you can't even believe that there were so many brands that were integrated in it. And it was not something that was put forth, in the face of the customer. So this actually makes it a much more positive way of integrating the brand. And it is more of marketing rather than advertising is what I would like to see. And that's how we at Mahindra also would like to see it. In fact, I have many examples to give you how we have seeded brand integration, but it does not seem to look like a brand integration. In fact, it's a part of the storytelling that is there, and that's all thanks to OTT.
Yeah, I think Nikhil can bring a different perspective from an OTT point of view on this.
Definitely, yes. I would have a different perspective to this. The reason being, I provide the marketers and the advertisers a platform to reach out to the relevant kind of audiences. And I believe that OTT is the right platform to reach to the right audiences. The reason being, you are targeting a particular set of audience over there. Your advertising or marketing spend is not going in waste. Yeah. And grabbing audience attention these days is the most difficult part. You talk about any of the mediums, you talk about newspaper, you see an ad, you flip the paper, you see, though I might sound a bit cannibalistic, however, because I also represent a news channel network, but if you see an ad on news channel also, you will change the channel. FM, you will change the channel. On the digital ecosystem, you will wait for the skip button to appear. Correct. So the only option left with all the advertisers and marketers is to integrate their ad or marketing or their product or their services into a storytelling format. And that's the future of advertising, I guess.
Amazing, point of views. I think we're quite clear about the fact that storytelling and integrating a brand seamlessly into a story is the way. I wanted to ask one more thing on the same point. Of course, a brand would want to engage onto a story because there's a longer watch time, right? And it's undisputed attention, right? Because it's not like a short format video that comes and goes. People are watching an entire episode and sometimes binge watching, right? So that part is understood. How effective and efficient is it for a brand? Is there another angle, maybe a cost angle? You know, while you're making that selection or that choice of saying, hey, instead of doing the traditional advertising, I'd rather integrate my brand into an OTT content. You know, so is there a different angle to that?
I'll take that.
Please go ahead.
So you always, as a marketer, have to play the balance of a seamless integration, and you also have to ensure that you get reach. So I don't imagine any marketer who's spearheading a sizable portfolio of business or a sizable brand to be playing the either-or game, right? You want to make sure that you have a customer surrounded and you're ensuring that they have a 360 view of your brand. So I wouldn't imagine it to be only content integration or only advertising. It needs to be a balance of both.
I would like to address the point of cost that you mentioned. For Mahindra, there was a choice that we had when we had to reach out to a certain set of audience. And this was your premium audience that we had to reach out. And luckily, we had opportunities of major impact properties. There was FIFA that was there at that time last year. Then there was IPL that was there this year. Luckily, with Jio Cinemas, and this is something that I would like to mention, they have a certain thing that they actually use an FCT element which is very similar to the thing that you have on television. Yeah. So it's more of a 30-seconder on TV is equal to a 30-seconder on your CTV as well. And this was something that actually worked for us. Rather than going into a model of CPMs and all, it is very easy sometimes to explain internally that, you know, you have a 30-seconder model on television, works similarly on CTV as well, because CTV is not something that is very complicated, but it's easy to understand when you explain it in a model that has been traditionally used. And that, I think, is something that helped us convince internal audience, and it also helps when it comes to cost efficiency. So my point being that all of this, there are different models that are used by OTT, which actually lead us into taking correct decisions, which help into cost efficiencies.
Absolutely.
This could be actually divided into two parts. So when you talk about the cost part of producing a particular commercial or an ad, now when you talk about the entertainment OTTs of the world, you talk about the Netflixes, or you just spoke about Sabyasachi, there would be a certain cost of integration over there. When you produce an ad, it's a function of monies and the artist and the time and the resources. Absolutely. There would be a certain cost to it. But when you handle this from a point of view of news OTT, because I would be talking from the point of view of a broadcaster and a news OTT representative, the cost when it comes to a news OTT platform is probably 1/10 of what you produce on entertainment. So the cost investment for producing an ad on a news OTT is relatively lesser as compared to the entertainment one. Second thing, I couldn't agree more with Sonam when you talk about CTV ecosystem. Now, my ecosystem reaches out to 18 million audiences per day. So if I multiply 18 million audiences into 365, which is around about 550 million audiences, and if 10% of that also is seen by the relevant audiences, the task of a marketer is achieved. The objective is achieved.
Sure. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I thought I'll skip it because probably I'm the most conservative one. Yeah, because see, for example, I'm in hardcore, the brands I handle are hardcore brick and mortar store, that brands, right? So we actually are in a situation, unfortunately, where you're either or both. So for example, I sell my product to someone based in Durgapur to someone based in Kodaikanal, right? I have to reach them. Yeah. So for me, it's very important that I maintain my traditional media push. Sure. But there are these gaps where I know certain audience might not be coming to us, might be a language barrier, might be the content is not up to their affinity. That's where we go there. One problem which I face in terms of generating ROI is you don't have a bark equivalent yet. Yeah. That's a continuous struggle. Yeah, half of my time goes with fighting with my management, the board members, to suggest and to simplify this working, right? I think that's also will get simplified because in India we tend to start or get into a trend a little late, but once we are there, the trend evolves
Then
very
it's
quickly.
on the roll. Yeah.
Very quickly.
Absolutely.
So this is precisely what it is. I think after 2 years, when you have this discussion, we will be much better off to tell you the ROI. But for us, at this moment, yeah. Completely.
Sure, sure. So I think Sonam also spoke a bit about sports, right? That example that you gave. My next question is about your thoughts on on AWOD versus SWOD, right? AWOD gets us reach, right, for any brand. SWOD is more premium customers that have deep pockets, right, users. So sports we have seen as one, kind of format or genre of content where you have reach as well as paying consumer, right? For brands like yours, what is your preference? Would you want to go for an AWOD versus an SWOD? Like we gave the Prime Video example right now, that's an SWOD service. But we have Mini TV as well, which is an AWOD service, and it's an ad-funded platform, which is amazing because there are very few platforms that are ad-funded, right, in the OTT space. So what are your thoughts on that, and how do you make that choice?
So primarily for us, what is very important is you sort of want to let people simplify the product. Okay, for example, I can only talk about the kind of products we handle. Everything is a category created, right? There was no product, no equivalent was there in the market before. So awareness is there. People have seen the ads, people know the name, but necessarily they might not know which product in our portfolio fits into their life. That's where SBOB I think helps us, because you can go and explain. At the outset, you rightly said it sounds very premium, but that segment might not be involved in our product yet. Sure. And that's the segment I'm trying to cater to. So we changed. For last year, it was different. This year, the strategy is evolved, because everywhere you map the consumer journey, what kind of consumer is coming to my portfolio. If there is a certain segment I'm missing out, I pick and choose basis that.
Sure.
So it keeps on evolving.
Yeah.
Again, for me, it is not an either-or situation. SWOD audiences, because we play in premium fashion brands, are the core TG. Having said that, they are also the most contested set of audiences for any category, right? Whether it's fashion or otherwise. You always want to make sure that you have your next set of trialists, brand trialists ready and aware and aspiring for you. So AWOD that allows you for that opportunity.
Amazing. Sonam, what do you have to say?
So I think for us, it depends on what is the strategy for the campaign that you're talking about. And also depends on what kind of properties that you're looking at. So for example, if you're looking at something like IPL or the upcoming World Cup, I would definitely want to have more reach, because that is my objective. It's very tactical, hit them with a 15-seconder, put the message loud and clear. So therefore, at that time, AWOD is something that I'm looking out. I'm looking out open networks, I'm looking out maximum reach. When it comes to SWOD, I think for me at that time, the strategy would be how do I integrate my brand within the story? Because at that time, I want that audience to feel that they are consciously utilizing the content. And at that time, that kind of audience, which is exactly what I am, I would want to see my brand within the content rather than be pestered with ads. And therefore, the strategy is what depends. So when it's a large impact property that I'm looking at, it definitely has to be high reach. Otherwise, it has to be tactical reach, targeting the exact audience.
Sure. Do you have any point of view on this?
I wouldn't be the right person to comment on it. The reason being
But
I don't advertise.
You are an AWOD service, right?
Yeah, but see, as I told you earlier also, that to grab audience attention is the most difficult part. Ads are not liked by anyone, whether it is an advertiser or a consumer. Nobody likes it. Means advertisers are also consumers at the end of the day. So, but when it is a matter of reach, of course, when you want to reach the masses, it's obviously the subscription model won't work over there. It is only for niches. So it depends on your marketing objectives, whether you want to address the masses or the niches.
Sure. I think a very relevant question at this point would be the type of content in terms of format, right? So there is branded content, right? And there are ads. And then there is seamless integration, which is not branded content or ad, into an existing story, right? I mean, I've been on the branded content side for many years, and I've created like a lot of AFPs for brands. I felt it was a lot easier to do that because you could create an entire story around or to support the brand. I feel it's a lot harder, right, from a content creation perspective to seamlessly fit, which is what the Sabyasachi example I personally feel is a really good one because it was seamlessly done, right, by Prime Video. I wanted to understand your inclination, right? Would you, for your brand presence, would want to be in a story, right, which is already existing and being told in a certain manner, or have a story created around your brand? And I'll just add one more line to that, which is that when you see, like again, the whole point of saying taking a big face and making an ad, right, is going to cost us something, right, as a brand, versus having bigger faces already holding that brand in their hand, that product in their hands, right, into a show, So, and also what it does is it creates some sort of an aspiration, right? If I see my favorite character or actor wearing a certain brand in a show, I'd be like, hey, I'd like to buy that. I mean, I'm talking from a consumer's perspective. Or I'd like to go to that restaurant. These guys were shooting there. It seems like it's their favorite. What is your perspective on this from a brand point?
Short and crisp, seamless integration any day.
Really? Yeah. Amazing.
Reason is the consumer is smart, right? They're on that space, they're well informed. If you want to sort of build an idea which doesn't fit with your content, try to push it down their throat, they're not going to take it. Yeah? For that, you have your traditional advertising that does its job, right? So anytime, if I'm on OTT, it has to be seamless integration. Why will I do that? I want to make the brand very accessible to them. Yeah, that has to come across almost like part of their lives. I won't get a star to speak about it. In fact, when the content team is briefed also, we usually give a free hand. Because they know their sort of platform, what works, what not, and it has to be seamless, any given point of time. Yeah,
great to hear that from a brand that you give the creative folks a free hand.
I wouldn't give a short and crisp answer. I do have a two-part answer to this, right? So what is the correct or ideal way of it, right? There is an ethos of a program or the content, and then there is ethos of the brand, and should they merge together, then you see magic. I don't know how many of you remember back in the day when Coke was a part of the Tal movie. There was a scene. There's so many of you nodding, yes, right? Yeah. It was a beautiful scene, and it was so succinctly putting Coke in the cultural context, and that's what Coke does as a brand, right? There was a very popular program which was called Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And they did an integration with Tupperware. So many of you are smiling, right? There was an integration with Tupperware for a program that has a very strong voice of its own and an ethos of its own, and then the brand comes in and it fits seamlessly. You remember that. Otherwise, there will be slew of these content integrations or forced integrations on storytelling, which is not memorable, right? The consumers see through it. You as a brand, you as an advertiser, it's painful for you to watch your own brand in that context. So that's that. But having said that, we've been trying this for a while, right? I think advertisers and brands try this for a while. That is very, very hard to crack. So what you do as an advertiser or as a brand is that you try and take your brand for these integrations and then hopefully hope that something works, which is that poignant or that hand in glove with what the content is and what your brand is, and hopefully create something which the consumers will notice and remember, and not 10, 15, 20 years after it was produced.
So Parul, I think talking about seamless integration versus branded content, seamless integration would definitely be aspirational for all brands. So I think that's like a benchmark that I want to be seen on a day where everybody knows about my brand, and just a mere passing of a vehicle is good enough for them to recognize what is the brand. But I think taking a step back, let's look at what's the product journey. Because there are multiple brands, at least in the face of Mahindra that I can speak, that we have multiple brands, and each one is in their own product journey. So in case if there is a brand that's newly launched and needs to develop its awareness quotient, needs to have a high reach, I think that's where the branded content comes into the picture. And I would definitely want either a celebrity or a known face or someone who can speak about the brand, because that is exactly what I want the brand to talk. So that's where the branded content part comes in. But if I have a brand which is already a market leader, I think just a mere presence or just a presence in terms of a scene or a usage of the product is good enough for the brand to be seen, because that's not going to be preachy, that's not going to be an advertisement per se. And that's how I would put in the entire point being that a product's life journey determines whether it would be branded content or whether it would be seamless production.
Sure.
So I guess today is a lucky day for me. The reason being I have 3 marketers over here. And I, other than heading the marketing for News 9 Plus OTT, I also head the sales for them. And this is the only things which I have been explaining to my clients from ages. That it has to be, every product has a life cycle. You have objectives, and if it is an established brand, then you have product integrations, and if you have a newly launched brand, as she rightly said, then you need to have a AFP built around that. So my task has become easy today, I guess so.
Amazing. But if you see, I mean, an ideal example for a branded content that was seamlessly, had a seamless fit in the story as well was Tripling. I mean, we all have seen that, right? Like the Tiago brand, right? The way it was fit in was it's like a sort of a character or like a role in the movie itself, like in the show itself. You can't move ahead without the help of that car, and it plays a very, very integral part. So I think that's an AFP, by the way, so on an A-board. I mean, if you get that, then you get pretty much everything, right, for a brand.
I'll actually add an example. So everyone knows Chinks is heavy on Big Boss, right? We built Big Boss helped us build the brand. So for an example, this year we tried on Big Boss OTT, okay? Typically we want to shy away. We are like, no, Big Boss, we do TV, that serves the purpose. So we just gave a product. It's called Shezwan Chutney, kept on the table. People tried it. You would be amazed, we got a consumer mail from Mozambique. Indian diaspora based there. He said, I want distributorship. I shifted from Gujarat some 20 years back. I saw the product on Big Boss. I never
Amazing.
thought about it. And it's there for eternity, right? Whenever they have a rerun on YouTube or Geo, it's there.
Sure.
So much so, unfortunately for Geo, we pulled out advertising. We said, placement is working. Why would you spend money on advertising?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
in that scenario, it worked very well, right?
So these are anecdotes,
Yeah.
right? Very interesting because there is no data point to tell you that. But consumer sees it, yeah? You are not pushing it. It just kept on the table. Contestants are having it. We also didn't realize. Yeah, we are not greedy ki khilao. Give it to them. They tried on their own and picked up. So that's a learning for us.
I think it's a great insight, right? And consumers these days are very, very evolved. Like we said, they know when to skip. They get put off very easily, hard to please. At the same time, they do appreciate. They can see it's an integration, but they like it. Because it's so seamlessly done, because it's not disrupted their experience of the story, right? Thank you for giving an example of Big Boss OTT, because that's connected to my next question. Scripted versus unscripted. It's been a debate. Like for brands, right? Unscripted is, wow, it's ideal, right? Because it's topical, right? You can plug in as many brands as you want. On Roadies, I used to do the brand solutions. On MTV, we used to have 16 to 17 sponsors, and we had something for everyone. We basically sold every minute, of that particular content, right? But seamlessly fitted. So I think for brands, it's been amazing to be on an unscripted platform. But then there is a complete contradiction now with what's happening in OTT, right? Within OTT itself, the Big Boss example that you gave. And then we have like Made in Heaven, we have Darlings from last year on Netflix. Everybody saw Karma. There was some flack as well given to it, but also appreciated. Worked well for the brand. And, Fabulous Lives of Bollywood Wives was another example. So, for you, what's your pick? The easier one, which is unscripted or scripted?
Actually, unscripted is not the easiest one. It does leave you as a brand and a marketer on a slightly shaky ground where you're not sure of what the output would be and how would your brand be represented. Having said that, we aren't the experts, right? We don't know how to create content. We lean on to content creators and we lean on to people who actually know this better. So I think it's a fine balance to tread. You should know what is not acceptable for you as a brand, right? What is the kind of representation that just simply doesn't work for you as a brand. And I think that's a good starting point for any of these brand integrations or any of these partnerships.
Amazing. It's already amazing to see.
To what Swati said.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
If a marketer says it will be completely unscripted, then there's a marketing wonderland I want to be part of. There is a basic do's and don'ts you always have. you sort of try and pull it. There's a typical cliche saying, no, the brands used to say ki maza nahi aaya. So you want to be away from that. Yeah. You give basic do's and don'ts. You give a framework and let them evolve. Yes. Because like she said, rightly so, we are not expert of what works on their platform. They know. But we know what the brand is supposed to mean, what their brands has to say or should not say. That bit of framework we have to handle. Let's it's up to them.
It's amazing. I'm hearing this. I'm feeling really good about this. Though I moved on from the creation part, but nice feeling.
Parul, I have just one word for you. Legal. The word is legal. There is this department that sits in everybody's company that has an overview, a Hawk's overview of everything. So you've got legal metrology, legal compliance. So therefore, for me, I think more than finance, I'm scared of the legal department. And therefore, I wouldn't want to come into any gray zone. So definitely scripted, but with certain leeway for creative production as well. So I think there could be certain things that are mandatory to be said, but giving them a fair chance and freedom of creativity also.
Lucky for us, I think there are no legal guys here.
Luckily, but you never know.
Would have had few
Lucky to be
walkouts.
working in fashion.
The funniest one, I have to really share this. The funniest one that I got from a legal brand guideline perspective was, this was on Top Model, and Oppo was one of our sponsors, one of our expensive sponsors, like a big ticket sponsor. So we had to obviously treat them really well. And I had a task for one of the models, right, where I had to keep the phone down and take like a really low angle, you know, and it was a poolside shot. And we did the shot and we were pulled up and we said, what happened? He's like, you're not allowed to keep the brand on the floor. And I was like, how do I shoot a low angle, right? I need like the model lying next to the pool. And we had to change the task, you know what I mean? So it's amazing to hear these things when brands come up with the legal bit.
That's the reason I said, you know, the scare of the legal department? Ask the advertisers.
I mean, on the other side, I understand that. What are the weird stuff that you hear?
It's exactly the same thing. Means I couldn't agree more with her today. Means it's absolutely the same thing which I want to speak, which is on the tip of my tongue, and maybe because of the sequence of the sitting, it's going in the same way. Yeah. But yes, of course, I agree that scripted would be a better way to take anything forward rather than unscripted, with giving the creative liberty, certain creative liberty to the person who is producing it, so that you are actually meeting your objectives, so that your brand communication, your brand messaging is not hampered with. It is not twisted and twirled. So I'll say scripted.
Great. I'm going to start with you.
With all marketers sitting around, there is no way in hell Nikhil was going to tell you the real trip story of brand.
Absolutely.
He's
playing safe also. I'll start with you, Nikhil, this time. I know the sequence is in a certain manner, so we'll start with you. A very open-ended question, basically. I have no examples to give on this one. What are the evolving market trends and innovations in digital entertainment at this point of view for you guys, for all of you folks?
See, I guess the market has evolved quite a lot and it is evolving. What we can see in the future is maybe the integrations of VR into the OTT space. I feel so. Because OTT is totally developed now. You have everything. You have entertainment, you have news, you have different genres, you have different languages, you have different markets, different segmentations. You name the kind of content that is available on any and every OTT space. What is available and scarce is just the VR thing. And I guess the next best step or the next big step in the OTT space would be VR. Maybe when I want to try a Mahindra Thar and I don't wish to go to the showroom, and virtual reality makes it possible for me sitting in the comfort of my sofa, then this is, I think, would be the next big thing, which would be, I guess, supported by AI. So somewhere VR and AI would play a very vital and a very big role in the upcoming space of OTT.
Interesting. Sonam?
Nikhil, I take that point. I want you to visit my website and virtually take a test drive on Thar itself.
I did it, but yeah, see, there is Ultra Max 4D, wherein you have the smell, sensation of smell, and
Nikhil is asking for more, clearly. Exactly. He wants a better experience.
Smell and sensation, and I'm going to give it to you someday. So I think in terms of OTT, we've got a very, very bright future, and I'll be very generalistic in saying that because OTT is a huge universe. And there are so many components within OTT which are growing exponentially. I mean, for me, the minute I see a media plan today on the table, and if it does not have a component of CTV in it, for me, that's a big, big red flag. Because today, my audience is my premium audience is sitting at home. They've got CTVs, they're viewing everything, sitting, with their OTT platforms and all at home. And this is an audience, if it's not a part of my TV plan, that's a big issue for me. So therefore, breaking it down to CTVs, which is a critical part of my media plans, and other part would be my content integration, which is then again divided into whether we want to get into a branded content, whether we want to have seamless integrations. So OTT today is something that is very, very critical for Mahindra, very, very critical for certain brands which are new launches and for brands which are established. So answering your question, OTT is going to be absolutely critical going way forward.
Nice. Apoorva.
I think my answer will rest in some of the first principles, which is I continue to hope more seamless branded content integrations. I think there's a fair bit of ground that we have to cover in that space. A lot of the content that comes my way as a consumer and as a marketer seems to be not as seamless, seems to be forced. So that's one. The second is the ability to be able to advertise, right? I think there are these lovely walled gardens that we've created where I can see as a marketer that my TJ is sitting, but I'm unable to advertise to them. So the ability to be able to advertise to them, because that drives scale. The third thing is to be able to drive omni journeys. As much as a footprint that we have in offline retail, we have online retail presence as well, right? What stops me as us as brands is there is a certain content integration that we've had, and if there is a consumer who's liked what they've seen, there should be a way for them to access what they've seen to the point of sale. So more seamless omni journeys there. That's that.
First, Nikhil, VR idea sounds very cool. When you're live, hit me up. I'll be more than keen to experiment.
Leverage on the taste.
Totally. And the sound, sights and sounds.
I think both of you got really excited about the whole VR part.
Achha, time is up. Okay. So two things. Yeah. One is end of consumer journey. You see a content, you like the content, you will have an option of buying directly, which sort of might not happen in CTV. We'll have technology, but definitely will happen on mobile phones. And second is premium value on premieres, especially movie premieres. Yeah. When there is a huge audience waiting for that premiere to happen, I think that's where you will try and pick your product more. How to do that? Might be you get your brand guy. Yeah, when there is a movie, right before, in our case, a Ranveer movie premieres, he might interact with the consumer, give tips about the product, and then the movie premiere starts. That's some trend I'm hoping to see very soon on mainline OTTs.
Interesting. Sorry, can I take just one more question? It's very relevant for OTT. Whoever's keeping the time. Okay, no one's answering. I'll take the liberty. I just came across a study recently. I'll read that out. It says, the share of regional language consumption on OTT platforms will cross 50% of the total time spent by 2025, easing past Hindi at 45%. I was a bit shocked about that, but we do see that growth happening. What regional content was on OTT when it all started a couple of years ago and what it is now. I mean, there is a great offering. What's your thought from a brand perspective on, kind of investing or associating on regional content?
Totally, it will boom. You've seen Hoichoi do very well in Bengali, right? That's the premier landmark OTT platform, and especially because the medium is very personal. You see it in a phone, you are interacting with it, and then you like to choose the content and the language you like it. Yeah? 100% is going to boom, and India with so many languages, at least you will have 4 or 5 regional languages doing very well. The task will become very hard for us as marketeers, a lot more money, but it's going to happen, and very soon, we're there.
I couldn't be more excited. My only concern is the ability to be able to, because we cater to premium audiences, so the ability to be able to cater to in a cost-effective way and reach to the premium audiences, so not have a lot of bleed in terms of the media spends.
So being very, very crisp and clear on this, regional content is very, very big. In fact, we have certain things already in pipeline where we are doing seamless integration for certain brands of ours, which are leaders in the commercial vehicles market. So yes, answering your question, big, big bang on regional content.
Amazing. I think this was a great, great, great discussion. Our time is up. Siddharth's not going to let me probably speak another word. Sit down. Any questions? I can probably take one question. Anyone has any questions for the panelists? They have amazing insights. Oh, of course.
Yeah. So, we have been seeing journeys of brands, distribution
Sure. Any of you want to take that, please?
We don't really keep in preconceived percentage as such because that goes out of digital. But what we are definitely seeing is more money getting into integration from typical digital ads. Rather than doing your standard SEOs and all you'll have to spend, but rather than doing your ads on OTT, you will sort of give more money to integrations. And we've been doing this. Year on year, you will see an increase. The challenge after 3-4 years would be how your integrations are different from other guys. That will be the challenge with every brand coming in. Yeah, that's what we can see.
I think I'll address it a little differently. You are very, very right in saying that we have challenging budgets for everything. But I think it depends on the strategy as well. There is no set percentage split per se, but it all depends on how quickly do you want to see an ROI. So whether it's a media campaign where you want to see certain quick results. So for me, it comes in terms of bookings, in terms of retails that happens for my vehicles. Or do you want to have a certain idea that needs to be inculcated? It needs to be, developed for a longer period of time. And that's where the branded content piece comes into the picture. So where I'm not seeing a very quick result, but I'm trying to see, improvement in terms of my brand scores. So those are certain elements of my brand scores that I want to increase. That's where the branded content comes into the picture.
So it will flip it, Sonam. For instance, the CEO would definitely ask you, in all the media plans that you've done, what is the attribution funnel for integration? So what do you have to say for that?
So it all depends on which brands that we are talking about. Certain brands may not need a branded content element to it, while certain brands may need it to develop certain elements of the brand which they are falling short of. And that's where the strategy for that is only to talk about how do we seed an idea, how do we develop different things in terms of integration, and where seamless integration plays a very critical part in it. Certain brands may only have a very direct ROI where we need to see bookings and sales happening month on month. So that's how we divide our strategy.
Great, you got your answers? Amazing. Thank you so much for taking time out today, and to you guys as well. A great discussion. Thank you.